Okay. Oh, are we on? Are we on? Are you sure? How about now? There we go. Okay, it's 6 o'clock and I will call to order the Plainfield Charter Township Board meeting for March 14th, 2022. We'll start our meeting with invocation and pledge of allegiance, which I will lead. You bow your head, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of the community. We pray for peace around the world, especially those in Ukraine suffering from the atrocities being committed against them. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands so that you may direct us. Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, I would open the floor for public comments, but I'm going to kind of give some how we do this. When we get to the items on the agenda, the Boulder Creek and there's two Boulder events tonight. We'll open the floor at that time for comments on those specific items. So right now, if you'd like to make a comment, you can do that. If it's more appropriate that you make it at that time when those items are being discussed, that's fine. So any comments now that might be obviously related to township business and that we want to explore at this point? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the floor for public comments and we will move on to our agenda business. So first item is to review our consent agenda. Any questions, comments, concerns? If not, I would seek a motion to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda and accounts payable.
I move to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda and accounts payable.
Thank you, Frank.
I'll second that.
Support from Bill. Roll call vote, please. Kathleen.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Brinkman.
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill.
Yes.
Ms. Postma, yes. Mr. Coleman.
Yes. Okay, item 7 is a public hearing to consider an amendment to the conditions of the Boulder Creek Planned Unit Development to extend the mining operations. Cameron?
Okay. We have our staff planner, Pete Elam, with us tonight, who's going to introduce the topic a little bit. I think most everyone here is familiar with the location that we're discussing. We do have our applicants here with us tonight, and they'll have an opportunity to present their application as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pete, and then we'll give our applicant a chance to talk, and then open a public hearing.
Grand Rapids Gravel is here before you tonight to request a one-year extension to December 31st, 2022. When I say one-year extension, that's essentially backdating from December 31st, 2021 to 2022 for the purposes of finishing off the lake feature that was part of the original development plan when they came into the PUD development for this property. There's an additional, I believe, 70,000 tons of gravel left at the 7-mile service drive that needs to be removed. It was left there in anticipation that that would be the safest route to take gravel off this site if and when the state, and when I say state, Eagle decides to grant them a permit for the water feature on the property. Originally, it called for a 12.6 acre lake. You can see that roughly in the northwest corner of the property. Right now, there is an aerial photo in your packet that shows how it's divided up currently into roughly 3 5-acre ponds, we'll call them, for the purposes of discussion tonight. So there and then you can see the outline of the pond itself there. In terms of meeting the requirements of the rest of the agreement that we had with the applicant in terms of removal of equipment and cleaning up the site, they have done what they need to do, and all mining activities have ceased at this point. It is anticipated if they are granted an Eagle permit that it would take roughly 2 to 3 months to finish up the mining on that. The materials would be hauled off-site to I believe, their Woodworth location. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Here, the reality of it is, if the board were to approve this, we will have to, the motion will amend everything, the soil removal permit, the ordinance to amend, and the agreement has to be amended also at their cost. If the board were inclined to deny this tonight, the applicant will still have to come back ultimately and amend the PUD. So why? Because this lake handles their stormwater. And if this lake is not built to this way, that 12.6 acres, essentially they're gonna have to redesign the stormwater of this development, and that means redoing the layout of the property. So with that, I'm going to leave off. I will let you know, the staff and the township attorney have prepared 2 separate motions in there for you to contemplate for tonight. If you have any other questions, please let me know, and I'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pete. Mike, James?
Good evening. I think Pete did a fantastic job of kind of explaining the overlay. Obviously, you guys are well aware of what's transpired here. Our motion tonight, what we gave to the Planning Commission was, we applied for an Eagle permit on February 10th of 2020. It's supposed to be a 90-day window, 3 months. We'd have an answer by, May. We never have gotten that answer. Later in 2020, we received feedback, and there was a couple issues that Eagle Department had with granting this permit. We worked with our consultants, we solved those issues, turned it back in. There's been back and forth, and they came up with different issues, and so far, and we've been trying to move forward with those. We've been in contact with Eagle throughout this whole period, trying to solve their issues. Their last issues, we gave our problem or our solutions in December. We reached back out multiple times, and so far this year, last year, we talked to our contact there. He said his boss was going to have the contacts to us by last week. He sent an email today that they still haven't had those comments. So we're still just waiting on this Eagle permit. We feel as in 2018, when we did the extension, in good faith, we wanted to have this project done. Trust me, we want it done more than anybody else, because then we can get the gravel out, use it for the natural resource for what it's worth, and turn this into a beautiful development, which we think is laid out here. We don't want to have to redo a PUD, come back with a layout that's not as great as this one. We want it done, but so far we haven't had that luck with Eagle. So we're coming to you with trying to get this extension. We think we're very close. We had a meeting with the other side of Eagle regarding the PFAS contamination underneath the golf course. There was never, in that whole meeting, there was never any concerns from them about PFAS moving to the west, and we think that if that group doesn't have any concerns, we're hopeful that the Inland Lakes and Stream group also will not have that concern anymore, because we feel it's been alleviated. With that said, I think Pete showed it out there. We have about 40 to 70,000 tons that remain under that access drive. That's been left because we were using it every day to take out as much material as we could underneath without the permit up until December 31st. Now we think we could take out about 40,000 tons of that without a permit, just because it's underneath the service drive, and we'd still have access up to 7 Mile. So that could happen immediately. And I think right now is such a great time for that, because so many trucks are sitting because of the weight laws. The routes we would take are all seasonal roads. They're not, we wouldn't be confined by those weight restrictions. So there's less traffic on the road right now. We could use it, granted it's gravel, paid for 7 Mile to be that all seasonal road. So we'd like to utilize that. And then we could still take out, you can see it from those aerial photos, we could connect those 3 ponds into one larger pond and take the rest of that material either out through 7 Mile, or if the township would like to go out Canonsburg Road, we feel that's not the best route. I think that's why the township approved the traffic route to use 7 Mile, but that would be another option. Those are kind of where we're at, what we're applying for, why we think it's best. If you guys have questions now, or
James, thank you for that. I think one thing we want to point out, the aerial photo that's in front of everyone is not as it exists today. Is that correct? So is
Correct. If
You
Pete
wanna-
wants to grab one of the other.
there a different one?
Cameron, in the packet, there are two aerial photos that James provided earlier this week. So they're pretty up to date.
Yeah, if you want to go down right there, one of those two.
One of
Those
these
two views, yep.
Okay.
This would be basically above the loop. And then looking at it, so you can see those three ponds. To the very far east, that's where there's a little drainage section right now for the irrigation to the pond at Prestwick, which then irrigates the golf course, which that would get modified a little bit once that time came, so.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to open the floor for public comments on this particular issue. And before we start, we do give you 3 minutes to speak. It's not meant to be a question and answer kind of thing. So if you ask a question of the presenters or Pete or potentially us, that's not the idea. So we're looking for comments. You can ask your questions. We'll try to address them. We're going to ask a lot of questions ourselves, I'm sure. So with that being said, if you'd like to make a comment about this issue, if you could just raise your hand, I'll acknowledge you. When you go to the podium, you need to state your name and address for the record, please. And then we will go from there. So with all of that, who would like to make a comment? Going once, going twice? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the floor for public comment, and we will go on to board discussion. And for my board members, I beg a little forgiveness here. I would like to go first. And I guess I feel like I need to do a little history lesson here and talk about what we know and what we've been told as this process has went on. The original mining permit was from 1996 to 2011. So this should have been done 11 years ago. 2012, it was extended to December of 2018 for the removal of aggregate materials and so forth, to be removed by December 31st, 2020. The equipment and all of those things were supposed to be removed by July of 21. In 2018, if any of you were here, we held a lot of hours of hearings, public hearings, about another extension at the Boulder Creek pit. It was granted. The end date was supposed to be December 31 of 2021. All equipment, buildings, so forth, removed by July of 2022. Shortly after those meetings were held, we entered into a restrictive covenant between the parties involved, the township and the mining, the permit. So in July of last year, we actually looked at a permit for the Woodworth mining operation, and much discussion actually turned into the Boulder Creek pit. At that meeting, we were told about the permit being applied for in 2020, February. We're now over 2 years past that. At that meeting, if you were to listen to the recording, you would hear that we were told that that permit might be received within 2 weeks, but possibly by the end of 2021. Here we still are. Shortly after that meeting, I emailed staff and said, I did some math. We were told it would take 90 days to take out the materials between these ponds. So if that permit wasn't in our hands or in their hands by October 1st, they were out of time. So I think we needed to make that clear. Don't know if it was, but that's the way we went. We've had some issues in that area with folks who live on Butternut and Bittersweet. We had their wells go dry. The township had to deal with that issue. This past September, we actually had an item on our agenda to specifically discuss Boulder Creek. Again, it was conveyed that this permit was on its way. Well, in December, we were put on notice a meeting took place and there were still two issues, and one regarded PFAS, the other one was a stream modification through that Bittersweet neighborhood. So at the end of the day, they have two options available to them. We extend the permit, or they have to amend their PUD to design something around what they have. Now, having served on the Planning Commission for 6 years, I can tell you that revisions or amendments to PUDs happen almost on a monthly basis. So it's not something new. If you listen to that recording, that meeting that took place with the Planning Commission in January, it was stated that there was no money being spent anymore to pursue either option on your side because you're kind of waiting on us to tell you yes, no, maybe so. The Planning Commission did say and moved it to us with a favorable recommendation. My experience is, having been on the Planning Commission, they kind of knew we were going to be here tonight, whether they said, yeah, move forward, or they said, we're denying this. We would have still sat here tonight. So I think the township and its residents, the people at Prestwick, the people at Preserve, the neighbors to the north on Butternut and Bittersweet, I think everyone involved believes we negotiated a deal in 2018. The townships lived up to their side of that. I don't know what else I can say, other than, I guess it's probably obvious at this point that I am not supportive of extending this permit. It's been over 2 years. I've asked you several times at your presentations when we're going to see this permit. Are we ever going to see this permit? And all we keep doing is kicking the can down the road. So with that, I'll let my fellow board members do what they have to do here. Bill?
If we denied your request, what would it leave? You just have those two additional ponds? Is that what it would end up being?
You're welcome to go.
Who's your rep? Okay.
As of right now, those 3 ponds would stay. There are 2 additional ponds that will be dug irregardless of how this board votes tonight, and those will be proposed in the northeast corner, but there's still 2 more ponds that will be excavated, and that's been discussed with staff, and Cameron can attest to that.
Now, I'm looking at that, doesn't look like you got a lot to go to get them connected. Being an old demolitions officer in the Army, I could get them out of there for you real quick. But that doesn't look like, I've been on the board now we're going in my 10th year. And we've been talking about this for almost my entire time on the board. I think it's time that we get this taken care of and done with. I don't know, if we do this, what else can we go to that you could want an extension on?
There's not. I mean, these are recent photos. We took the whole plant out of there. All there is left is to remove that gravel. There's nothing else to be on that site that we could apply for an extension for.
Now, would this benefit the people at Boulder Creek in any way, or would it benefit the new condos that I assume you're going to put up around there? Is this to put it together and for aesthetic beauty? What's the reason for even worrying about this?
I think 2 things. I think one, as Pete mentioned, the stormwater. That's going to be, this was the basis of our large stormwater. Everything from north of 7 Mile is going to flow through here, and without this pond, we're going to have to go read through the calculation with the Kent County Drain Commission for that stormwater. And also aesthetically, it will make all those lots nicer, it'll make the condos nicer, it'll give this 90 to 100 acres a much better look. And I think your question about does it benefit the people around Boulder Creek, I know Tom mentioned Prestwicks, the preserves, to the north of the Boulder Ridge. We've had one of those stipulations of the last extension was we were going to meet quarterly. We held up our end of the bargain. We met quarterly. Everyone at those, there's at least one rep here from those area neighborhoods. They were in favor of this extension to be able to get to the lake and have it be that nice area. So I definitely think that they will, not only the people on this 90 acres, but the surrounding communities will benefit from it.
Now, if you said something nice now, that like you're going to plant walleye pike in there or something, that might help it. But
There are a lot of fish in there.
There what?
There are a lot of fish.
Oh, I'm sure there are. And with the price of gas, it's close. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Kathy?
I'm good, Tom. I think you covered what I was thinking.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen?
Same here.
All right, thank you. Susan?
When, can you show where the additional ponds are going to be?
I'm going to go back to the aerial. So in the top right, just south, yes.
Oh, okay.
There's
And where's the 40,000 or 700,000 pounds of yards of gravel stored right now?
So if you go through that Northland Drive, this toe slope, this is where the scale house was. This was the
Oh, yeah.
road up there, so underneath that access road.
The time has come. I think I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Jack?
The planning commission voted in favor. I was the lone in opposition, the lone person. I do have a question for you. The 40,000 tons of gravel, why was this not removed before December 31 of 2021?
We were using it where the scale was. In order to take that out and have an access road to 7 Mile, we would have had to remove this, move the scale house in order to, we needed that access drive in order to get the rest of the material that was still being sold per the agreement out through that access road. We couldn't have shut that off at that time and still been operational to sell all the stockpiled and remove bank run material.
Let me see if I understand this correctly. You had a deadline. You knew about the deadline. Isn't it true that you would have had to move the scale anyway?
We left it there in order to then be able to keep the remaining bank run out through there.
Okay, so why did you not adhere to the schedule and get it done and get the 40,000? I still don't understand why the 40,000 was not removed before December 31st.
We were taking the bank run material, everything of the bank run material that we could. We were delayed in digging some of that bank run material because we were waiting on the Eagle permits. We dug those 3 lakes, obviously not as, when you're digging lakes, you'd rather make one large lake instead of 3. So we were, without that Eagle permit, we weren't able to dig it as efficiently, and it kept dragging the timeline on a little bit. So we had more bank run towards the end of our time period than we originally would have liked if we could have dug it in the most efficient manner of one large lake.
Okay. I just want to let you know where I'm at with it. I have a different reason for not saying yes. And for me, it's not the same as Tom's, although it's similar. First of all, I felt like you had a deadline on December 31st, and to me, that meant being completely done and ready to remove everything. Second of all, you are not in control of Eagle, and I understand that. And so I could see where any delay of Eagle would cause a delay on you. It would seem to me, though, that you're asking us to make a decision before getting an agreement from Eagle. And to me, that's the cart driving the horse. It seems to me that you need to get the okay from Eagle, then come back to us. Because let's just say Eagle takes another 6 months to give you an okay, which it's possible that they could, seeing as how they took so long. You would still have to come back to us because you still wouldn't have enough time to complete what you needed to do in the time that you're asking for. So I don't understand why you're asking for our permission first as opposed to going to Eagle and getting a permit first.
I think the extension from the board would be able to have the caveat of the Eagle permit, where not vice versa. So as soon as we then were able to obtain the Eagle permit, which we're hoping to get a response as fast as we can, Tom, we can't control Eagle. That's apparent. We're trying to get those decisions. Then as soon as we receive that permit, we could then immediately start the process of getting that remaining gravel out and have it be done in the 2 to 3 months, as Pete said, Whereas if we went the other way, we would have to go through the planning commission, a public hearing, 30 days, get the recommendation from planning commission, another 30 to 45 days to come to the township board to get the recommendation from you guys, whether or not, so if we went that route, we would just extend the final timeline by 2 to 3 months. We're doing it this way, you can have that caveat, and then as soon as we get the permit from Eagle, we would be able to step forward and make progress.
So let me ask you, what happens if Eagle takes another 6 months?
Then we would have to make a decision on coming back to township board or not.
Exactly, you would have to come back to the
But
township
if it
board.
didn't take 6 months, then we would be able to immediately start the process in getting this put to bed.
Seems to me the holdup is with Eagle, not with us. We would be willing to listen to you at any time. It doesn't seem like we're the holdup, it's Eagle. So I still maintain you need to go through Eagle first. It's just my own personal opinion.
Thank you, Jack. Frank?
I'm good.
Okay. I have a whole lot more I could say, but I won't. Just in the spirit of time.
Can I make
So-
one more comment, if you'll let me?
Sure.
I just want to say, there's going to be activity on this site, construction activity, for 5 to 6 years. Boulder View West Phase 1, all these things, there's going to be construction activity. There's going to be the digging of those 2 north ponds. There's going to be a lot of dirt moved around. There's going to be a lot of excavation taking place. We would just like to be able to create this pond in order for everybody in the whole development, the other 4 communities, and Plainfield Township as a whole. If there's going to be all this excavation taking place, this is our one time to try and get it right. And if we can get the permit from Eagle within this year, we'd really appreciate the opportunity to make what the planning commission, the board already approved to be this end goal. We're not asking to process any material on site, to sell any material on site, just frankly, get it out of the ground. It's a natural resource that everybody needs. Plainfield Township adamantly needs it, and once it's done, it's done. So we would appreciate that opportunity.
I understand. I'm sure the people understand that there's going to be further development, but I think they're probably looking forward to July 1st when all of that other stuff is done and then it's being developed, houses are being built. In today's market, it shouldn't take you 5 years to fill that place up. Fast as you can go, people are going to be taking them. So I just think 11 years past the original date of when this was supposed to be completed, the people who purchased in Prestwick have had enough dust, traffic, noise. It's time for them to enjoy their lives too. So with that being said, I will seek a motion.
I would like to have, to make a motion that the board table this, and if this is overrun, then we can go with the original motion.
Pete, I see you.
Just to clarify, do you want to table this indefinitely or postpone it postpone it indefinitely? There's a difference on that a little bit
well,
procedurally.
I don't want to do either, but it
Well,
sounds like Jack does.
I should say, Jack, what is your desire? You gotta be
Well, I
careful.
talked to Cameron prior to the meeting as to the difference between postponing and
Yes.
tabling. And it appears to me postponing means that you set a date for the next time.
That's what I'm alluding to, yes.
And I don't want to set a date. I just want to table it.
Okay, just want to make sure.
So can we discuss what are we gaining by tabling?
A motion to table is not discussable.
Oh,
Right, Kathy? No discussion on a motion to table.
okay. So I guess we will, anybody want to second Jack's motion to table?
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Mr. Pfaff,
No.
Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
No.
Ms. Postmas, no, Ms.
No.
Beatty,
No.
and Mr. Brinkman.
No.
Okay, so that has been voted against. So I will once again just say I will seek a motion at this time.
I move that the township deny the request of Grand Rapids Gravel Company to amend the conditions of the Boulder Creek PUD, as well as associated changes to changes to related records and documents, including, without limitation, restricted covenants recorded May 16, 2019, to extend until December 31st, 2022. The deadline to complete the removal of the bank run materials and associated mining activities on the site. The recommendation to deny is based on, but is not limited to the following grounds. 1, as demonstrated by the record in this matter, over the course of many years, the applicant has had multiple and various opportunities to complete mining activities on this site. The last extension granted in 2019 was expressly premised, and the township in granting the extension relied upon the applicant's pledge that no further extensions beyond the provided in 2019 would be sought. Upon receiving the last extension, the applicant proceeded to take full advantage of the extension to continue to mine the site on a year-round basis. 2, environmental and other issues which the Township Board understands now from the basis for the applicant's current request to extend mining activities on the site were not unknown in 2019, and the burden was and remains on the applicant to ensure that it would apply for and obtain those permits and approvals necessary to meet its commitments to the Township made in 2019 as part of the approved end-use plan.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. Support from Jack. Roll call vote, please, Kathleen.
Hey, Mrs. Merrill,
Yes.
Mr. Brinkman,
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes.
Ms. Postma, yes, Mr. Coleman.
Yes. Okay, next item on our agenda is to consider a site condominium approval for Boulder North. Cameron, you want to speak, or you want Peter to go?
We'll let Pete handle this one, too.
Okay. Okay, Pete, you're on.
All right. Mr. Steve Whitty from Naderveld approached us earlier this year, or last year, actually, later last year, to split this property in front of you into 5 lots through the site condominium development process. The reason they're going this route is they have used up the majority of their split rights for the Mercy Health Building and some others, and the retirement facility. So what you have in front of you essentially is a method of splitting land, a little bit more complicated. You have to have a master deed governing it, and community space, and a number of other things like that. But we do them all over in the township. So from that perspective, it's not a big deal. The underlying issue is, as we started digging into this, there has been a number of approvals since this project was done, but when Mercy Health came in about maybe 10 years ago now. And they overlap, and the ordinance to amend hasn't been changed. So I've discussed this with the applicant, and when they come back in, assuming this is approved, they are going to have to amend the PUD to change some of the language on the building sizes and some of the detail work. That said, staff is comfortable with this proposed way of splitting the property and does not find it detrimental in general. So given that, I think probably the best is that Mr. Whitty takes the floor and addresses it with you and go from there.
Good evening, Steve.
Evening, board members. My name is Steve Whitty from Netterveld, here tonight representing Boulder North LLC. With me in attendance is Doug Bauer, one of the members of that LLC. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration regarding this request. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the property, but maybe backing up half a step. This entire area was developed by the current owner and his partners starting back in 2011. It was approved actually as Advantage Health PUD, and then Mercy Health came in. Subsequent to that, Leisure Living or Boulder Creek Assisted Living came in and purchased kind of the southeast corner of the site. But then since that time, this remaining parcel, 8.6 acres along Northland Drive, has been vacant. It's been for sale, but there's been limited interest in it. However, just recently, smaller users have approached the current owner and are interested in buying portions of that. So as a part of the submittal, I submitted a conceptual plan showing how the site might be developed into 5 individual lots. 3 of the sites are actually already spoken for. Units 1 and Unit 5, we're currently working on site plans for that. And Unit 4 will be under contract very shortly, and that will be proceeding forward. So the reason why we're coming in front of you or the township is the original PUD approval had shown a total of 4 buildings along Northland Drive, and it didn't really set up any way to split the land or for the owner to sell the land. So what we're in front of you tonight is asking for a potential of 5, and quite frankly, it might end up being 6 lots because the buyer of Unit 4 actually needs a little bit less room than what we're showing on the plan. So we might be coming back in front of you when we amend the other stuff that Pete was talking about and asking for 6 lots. But again, 5 or 6 in that area.
If I may note, though, we went to the planning commission, we said 5 lots is a minor
Correct.
amendment. If we're bumping that up, he's gonna have to amend the PD.
Correct, exactly. We'd go through the process again. But depending on the buyer of units 2 and 3, we might not need that at all. So anyways, that's a little bit of an overview. I'd be more than happy to talk about the land division process or the site condo process. I'd be more than happy to talk about my plan set. But if you have any questions on that, let me know. If you have any questions business-wise, Doug would be your person there. And thank you again.
Thank you, Steve. So at this time, I will open the floor again for public comment on this issue, if anyone's here for that. If you want to raise your hand. Again, not seeing anybody, I will close the floor for, oh, you snuck in there. Okay, go ahead.
I'm Denise Webb, 3325 Ancliffe Street. I know this land very well, and I guess I know we're not supposed to ask questions, but hopefully.
No, you're welcome to ask questions. We just.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what is the unit 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5? I guess that's my question. I mean, you said they are already called for, right?
Steve, if you want to give a quick,
Units 1 and 5 have been spoken for. Unit 1 will be a veterinary clinic. Unit 5 will be a skincare place.
Okay.
And then the person looking at, or dermatology, I should say. Then the person looking at Unit 4 is a dental facility.
Oh, so all medical.
Yep.
Okay, I'm all right with that.
okay, thank you, Denise. Anyone else? Okay, this time I will close the floor for public comment. We'll move on to board discussion. Frank, you want to start this time?
I'm good at this time.
All right, thank you. Jack?
I have nothing, thank you.
All right, thank you. Susan?
Can you tell me a little bit about the access road? It's going to go across the front of the buildings, and to be quite truthful, with our work on Reimagine Plainfield, isn't this the old way? Don't we want the buildings to be closer to the road with the parking behind?
They are.
This here is Northland
Oh,
Drive.
I apologize. Okay,
Access will be behind it via the access drive that goes to Leisure Living, which sits right here, and then it'll be extended to the back.
okay. I'm sorry, I was
you're
looking,
fine.
I was looking for the access road.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Kathleen?
I'm all set.
Okay, Kathy?
I'm all set.
Thank you. Bill?
I'm set too.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing. Thank you. It's nice to see something go on that piece of property.
It's been vacant for a while.
It's been there a
Yeah.
while. It's
Yep.
been there a while. And that's a nice job there in the previous stuff, so. Okay, I'll seek a motion at this time.
I make a motion that we grant site condominium approval for a 5-unit commercial site condominium project.
Support.
Thank you, Jack. Support from Ever Ready Frank. Roll call vote, please.
Hey, Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill,
Yes,
Mr. Pfaff,
Yes.
Mr. Brinkman,
Yes.
Ms. Postma, yes, Mr. Coleman.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will move on to Cameron comment time.
All right, a few things to share tonight. I imagine everyone's noticed the change of seasons that kind of started today, didn't it? We went from a Arctic blast to a 50-degree day today. I'm sure we'll have more back and forth before it's done, but it is certainly a change in seasons, and our buildings and ground staff is already making work of the changeover from more winter type of work to more spring and summer type of work. And with that, we are also trying to hire seasonal workers. So traditionally, these are high school, college-age individuals, and so summer jobs, no weekends. It's great. No nights, no weekends. You get a mow lawns, weed whip. So if you're interested, check out our website and make a referral to someone who's looking for a summer job. Other change of seasons, it's also pothole season. I'm sure everyone's noticed that. I want to make sure everyone's aware of how best to report a pothole. Obviously, as a township, we do not own or maintain our roadways. We just have the privilege of paying for them, right? So the road commission is the entity that maintains our roads for us. And whether it's a, federal, state highway, a county primary road, or a local road, it's all the road commission's job to maintain that. So if you see an issue on a road, please report it to Kent County. I'm on their website here to show you. They have kentcountyroads.net, report an issue. And this is more than just potholes. If a snowplow takes out your mailbox, you can report it here. Vehicle damage, dead animals, roadkill, they will remove that as well. Ice and snow, environmental spills, potholes, it's probably the most common. Trees, if you have branches down or something like that. Traffic signals, that's under their purview as well. I'll get to streetlights in a minute. Generally, streetlights are handled differently than this. So feel free to, and they prefer, please use their website. This makes the process a whole lot easier for them. Put your information here and they can address it very quickly. And generally, they can get to it within the next business day. So they're right on task with that. Streetlights. I mentioned streetlights before. Consumers Energy maintains public streetlights, and so same as if you were reporting a power outage at your home, you'd use the consumersenergy.com outage website. If you scroll down from a power outage, there's additional outage information, and you can report streetlight outage. One thing that, if you've used this in the past, one thing they've changed, they've actually added a map that actually has streetlights on it, and it's not perfect. Having used it a few times, it is missing a few streetlights here and there. So it zoomed into our location. So here we are in Township Hall. So you'll see the streetlights as Consumers Energy has them mapped. And this is accurate. There's one out at the street at the driveway here. If this light were to be out, you would click on it and you could report an outage. So you do that, and they are not as fast as the road commission in repairs, but without disparaging them too much, they should get to it in a matter of weeks, not a matter of days like the road commission, but they will get to it. If it's not on this map, but you physically see it there in front of you, their map's probably wrong. We have run into that. I've witnessed that. I've had other residents witness that. Push back on them a little bit if they argue with you that it's not their street light. Tell them that I can see it in front of me. It's a street light. So this map, though, is a huge step up from their past reporting tools where you had to try to manually enter in the intersection and the address and try to guess, as you probably don't know the address you're passing by on the road. But this tool is very handy, so please make use of that as well. Yeah, go ahead.
So if it's not on there, you can't click on it.
Correct.
So then you'd have to call them?
We've had residents do that before too, yeah. What I've done is, or what other residents have told me they've done is click on the nearest street light, and I've done this too. There's one on West River that I thought was the right one. Turns out when I went past it again, nope, there's actually two street lights there. What I've done is say, it's not this one, but it's the one next to it that's not on the map. So try to do it that way. And if there's any pushback and consumers gives you a hard time, just let me know and we'll. Yeah, phone call is usually the follow-up if it's not actually on the map, but
Okay.
or you can email me, let me know, and I'll reach out to our representative there.
Sorry.
and
Just
Let them know
just
they're missing another one.
detail. Just wanted to know that detail. Thanks.
We'll get it fixed one way or another, so. A couple other things to share. Governance Committee did meet for a while today, and we're working on appointments, and we think we have enough folks to get our Brownfield Redevelopment Authority launched. So we have a number of highly qualified individuals that have shown interest. So we're looking forward to putting that on the next agenda for the board to consider, and be happy to get that project underway so that we can get some movement there and have another incentive to support our Reimagine Plainfield project. Final item on my list, I received just before the meeting a couple of conference registration forms. I know you guys love to save money. March 28 is the deadline for early bird registration. If you haven't registered already, or you haven't told us and you're interested in going to MTA conference, please let me know this week so we can get your registration in. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Board member comments? Bill, how about you start us off?
You call him Bill?
No,
I just wondered, he's aged a heck of a lot.
we were making eye contact, that's all.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. As you know, the taxes are all collected. They're into the county already. We got that done. And we're eagerly awaiting the new lady to come in to replace Kendra. And that will be, I think, on the 21st, and we'll get ourselves started at getting it all straightened up again, which is always a good time. So, went very smoothly this year, I thought, in the collection of the taxes, and there weren't hardly any lines or anything like that, and it's gone reasonably well. A little bit difficult to work with the cloud, you know, and the doing the strike, but I learned it now, and I got it pretty well down pat. But that'll also be a way to work with delinquent personal property taxes, too, wherever I'm at on that line. So, everything seems to be clearing up now, and spring is getting ready to spring, and I'm ready for it. I'm tired of snow, and I think we all are on that line.
Amen. Thank you, Bill. Kathy, you have anything?
Just a quick note, being on the governance committee, I was so impressed by the people who volunteered and wanted to be on that committee and really enjoyed going through the process. And I look forward to seeing them all get into action.
Thank you. Kathleen?
I'm all set, thanks.
Thank you. Susan?
I too wanted to comment on the quality of the people who had volunteered to serve on a committee for Plainfield Township, and even the thought of something brand new like brownfields, they were ready to go. And you may think we spent a little time. I'm not sure how you said that, but we've been here all day, in and out most of the day. But it was well worth our time, and we're ready to move ahead with brownfields, which is just very exciting. I serve as the liaison for the senior program, and I'm very happy to tell you that we had a registration last Monday. And a registration means that one person signs up for whatever they want. So if I want to go to 2 lectures and a trip, then I sign up for 3 things. We have 2,025 registrations. 2,025. They've taken bus trips and had to add 2 buses, not just 1 bus. They call that the Encore. Now we've got 2 Encore buses going. It's phenomenal that the seniors are jumping right back and very, very eager to be active and busy. Speaking of active, Northview Schools has been very, very kind to us and let us use their Performing Arts Center, but now they have Beauty and the Beast. So next Wednesday's a lecture, it's called Apprentice for Life. You're always learning, and they're 1-hour sessions. And next week is something with history of a couple of the presidents. But anyway, we turn again to Oakview Church and are hoping to, I'm pretty sure, I haven't heard that we are not. So we are going to be moving the lecture, the Apprentice for Life lecture is going to move on March 23rd. That's next Wednesday at 2:30, and you have to be registered ahead of time. We have 185 people registered for that lecture, and those are all free. I got my conservation flyer today. Did anybody else get one? In light of the different kinds of weeds and plants that they talked about at our last meeting, I think it's really, really interesting. If you want to look at it, I can, I have it on the floor behind me, but you can get them online, and then but they actually come out in paper form. And last comment on the MTA conference. Last year, I was in a situation where I needed to do that conference virtually, and it was excellent. And Cameron, you did it too, right?
I did also.
Oh, you did too.
Right.
So if you can't go down to Lansing for the conference, I really encourage you to. Don't miss it. And we found it very, very easy to come back from having done something in the daytime with our family, and I would sit there and listen to the classes being repeated later on in the evening. So don't miss your MTA conference.
Is anybody making reservations for us if we want to go?
Cameron?
Cameron is, okay.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Jack?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, thank you. Frank?
So about getting the potholes filled, I don't know why, but every pothole season, whenever I go down a road and see one, I immediately go home, and I've used that site, and they're really good. They're quick, it gets done. I've seen it every year, because then I check afterwards to make sure that they're done, and they are very good at getting it done, so.
Okay, well, Kathy and Susan spoke to this. We spent a lot of time here today. We interviewed some great candidates, but I suppose I should send along my thanks from my wife that you kept me here all day. She didn't have to spend that time with me. So thank you to the two of you. Now you can just go home with me to pack, so that, right? It took two of you to replace my one wife. Okay, all right, great. Another thank you to Susan. Saturday night, we had a firefighter retire, Rick Rotman, for years of service. And Susan was there right away and was put to the microphone. And I had no idea that that was going to happen. So when I showed up a little bit tardy, Susan had already performed. So thank you for covering for the board. That was very nice of you.
37 years
Yeah.
as a firefighter. And one more thing I want to tell you, one of the funniest things I have ever seen in all my years, 37 years of Plainfield Township, was a picture of the back of the fire truck. And you know those little bins that they open the door and there's things inside? His feet were hanging out the thing. He needed to repair something, and he got himself into the bin and went down. There was a ladder, and there were feet, and he was repairing something in the truck. Never in my life have I ever seen anything like that. And they teased him about being Mr. Fix-It, but that was too much, too much.
Well, Chief, compliments. It was a nice event. You had a great turnout. So I was very happy to see that. It's nice when someone serves our community like that for a long time and is rewarded like that. That was very nice. So that's all I got. Thank you very much. I will see you April 11th. How's that? We're adjourned.
It's just before income tax, right? Yeah.